And hey, Trip, I don't think we've met, but I'm Jack.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm with the Office of Law.
I can't get in. Trudy, you are in and you are all live.
All right, everybody, thank you for being here this evening. This is our November 9th meeting of the Annapolis Conservancy Board. We have a quorum, so we are going to call this meeting to order at 5:32 p.m. I'm Jack Turner, your chair, and we've got a nice agenda this evening, so I'm just going to jump right into it with the approval of the minutes from our September 14th meeting. Racine had sent those over earlier today. I just briefly looked over them and think that we should make a motion to approve. Need a second. Tom is giving a second. So all in favor of approving the minutes from our September 14th meeting? Aye.
Aye.
I don't think Miss McFall can hear anything. She's been signaling at the video for quite a while now.
Trudy, can you hear us? Thanks, Trip.
Yep.
Not sure how to rectify that.
Do we have a chat function?
We do
in
not.
Zoom?
I
We do
can
not.
try giving her a call with the phone number I have. So
Okay, can you do that?
Yep, I'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So while we're waiting, Jackie is planning on joining, but she may be joining late.
Okay, thanks, Racine. And Racine, just as a point of order, if we have someone who's in the meeting but can't hear or participate for whatever reason, but we have a quorum, if like for this instance, if 3 out of 4 of us vote in favor, does that mean that it passes?
I don't think so. I think you need 4 votes. I mean, that's based on the number of your membership right now, and your membership is 6 people.
Right.
I think that it's normally 8 people, and a quorum is half plus 1.
So we need okay. Even though, so I guess I'm just curious about, like, we have a quorum so we can hold a meeting, but we need more than half of the membership to vote in favor to pass.
Right. Trip, can you help me with that?
Okay.
Do you guys know if you have any updated rules? I couldn't find any. Racine, if anyone's got any, please feel free to email them to me. I found rules of procedure, but they don't typically. I didn't see any mention of a quorum in there.
We have our bylaws as well, Trip. I can dig those up. Let me make a note to do that.
I could try to find it myself. I only ask because some boards have a little different terms when it comes to voting and quorums, etc.
Right. Yeah, good point.
Okay, so Jack, you're gonna follow up with Trip with your bylaws?
Yeah, I'll send Trip the bylaws. I think they're on the website, but I haven't looked at them for a little bit. And I know that the rules and procedures are not, the bylaws and rules and procedures are different documents.
I would also add if someone like Miss McPhail can't really participate, you got to question whether or not she even counts as a member to qualify the quorum, if you understand what I'm saying.
That's a fair point as well. Well, in that case, I will choose to defer voting on. I will withdraw my motion to approve the minutes, and we can move on.
Sorry, one thing. If she could call in, I mean, I don't know if you guys have experienced this before, but if she could find some way to at least hear or even a chat, I don't know what tools we have at our.
Yeah, I think Madeline is taking care of that. There is a call-in number for all of these meetings. You can link by internet or call in.
Got it.
So the phone number that we have, that I'm assuming Trudy provided us as contact information, doesn't appear to be her cell number, so I don't have any way of reaching her right now. Unless she calls me.
Okay, let me see if I have a number for her.
Just to let you know, it looks like Jackie is here.
Hi, Jackie. All right, I think I have Trudy's cell phone number, so I'm giving her a call right now.
Okay, now I have volume. I'm here.
I guess Trudy doesn't have her cell phone. Okay, not really sure how to proceed here. I mean, we can.
Hold on one sec. Sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting you, Jack.
No, that's fine. No, please. That's very helpful, actually.
If this Microsoft Word document online, which is called Annapolis Conservancy Board bylaws, are updated, the quorums, the section 6 states that a quorum shall consist of not less than 3 of the 7 members, or if less than full membership is in attendance, there must be at least 2 voting. So we've got 3. It says it just can't be less than 3. I think we're all right.
All right. Great. Thank you, Trip. No, that's really helpful. Please interrupt if
I was going to try to put up a note, but I guess it doesn't really work for attention.
Is that consistent with what you have in your notes?
Trudy.
Yeah, I just found I have the bylaws on our shared Google Drive. And that is also what I see, quorum and voting. There must be at least 2 voting. Yep. Okay, then I shall restate my motion to approve the minutes from the September 14th meeting of the Conservancy Board. Do I have a second?
I do. I still concur.
Tom will second. All in favor of approving the meeting minutes? Say aye or hand. Aye. The motion passes with 3 votes. I guess we can say Trudy abstained. I'm not sure how to phrase that.
An email to her real quick and see if I can get a phone number to call her.
Yeah, I have her cell phone number. I just tried to call it, but she must not cell with her.
Okay. Well, I'll send an email anyway.
Thanks, Racine. Okay, so before getting into the rest of our agenda, I wanted to invite, it sounds like we have a member of the public, Diane Butler, who would like to speak with the Conservancy Board about invasive plants and how the Conservancy Board and the city are interfacing on managing invasives. So Diane is now here. Welcome, Diane.
Hi, Jack, and thank you, Annapolis Conservancy Board. I want to thank you for all you do as a longtime member of the Environmental Commission, now the Planning Commission. I've watched as you guys have done just an incredible job, especially developing this greenway sort of master plan that will do a great job of connecting, our park system with our natural assets, including these bikeways that are being formed in the trails. So thank you so much for everything. And I think identifying these parcels that might be targeted for purchase in the future is wonderful. The question I have, though, for tonight is, after you do your inspections of the easements that you already have under your control, is there any prioritization of which easements need to be worked on in terms of whether there's a compromised forest? And when I'm saying compromised, I'm talking about invasive species, as Jack just alluded to. So is there any list of what easements you think need help and what that help might be?
Thanks, Diane. I'll take a first crack at responding to you. So thank you for your kind words, first of all. And I can't really take credit for a lot of the initiatives that you mentioned. Those happened, I think, before I was involved. But Linda, Tom, and Trudy all were, I think, deeply involved with the things like the Greenway map. So I agree. A big pat on the back to the Conservancy Board for undertaking those kind of things. As far as easement inspections go, our goal as the Conservancy Board is to inspect every easement each year. We've had some discussions recently about whether or not that is needed for every easement, because there are some easements that are quite small and some areas that we're not even really sure, constitute like a conservation area. So we've been having some discussions about our inspection procedures and policies there, but generally every easement's getting inspected every year, and there's an easement inspection report form that's supposed to be filled out. We kind of divvy up the inspections so that they can all get done between our membership. And those report forms should be going on to our Google Drive. But as far as, to touch on the invasive aspect, I don't know that everyone on the board is familiar with what invasives to look out for. I don't think that necessarily everyone on the board has a background in, identifying specific invasive species or forest ecology and understanding, what's bad and what's good and how to differentiate. So I don't think that currently we have any sort of a prioritization or a way of recording like a percentage cover of invasives or a scale of invasive presence in the easements. I do generally because I do have that background. So if I have noticed invasives, I've noted it down and what species I could identify and their prevalence, but it's not I don't think currently it's a standardized metric that the Conservancy Board is collecting when we perform our easements. That being said, there are some easements where the Conservancy Board has identified the presence of invasives, and the Conservancy Board has taken steps, not necessarily unilaterally, but in partnership with Save Our Trees, which is a nonprofit that's now under the auspices of the Watershed Stewards Academy. So Save Our Trees has been working in Annapolis and just in Anne Arundel County, I think in general, to identify areas where invasive species can be managed by volunteers. I think historically, I think they're looking for some grant funding to do some things with contractors that are a little more, heavy duty. But I participated in a few events at Truxton Park and a couple other places with Save Our Trees, and we've had an ongoing
Yes, you
conversation.
helped. I was going to say you helped us at Jones Cove, which is a very significant.
Jones Cove as well. Yeah. So
Thank you.
There's some precedence for Save Our Trees working on easements that the Conservancy Board looks after to remove invasives. And currently, I actually have an ongoing discussion, and we discussed this at our last meeting, that we've been working with Save Our Trees to target a few priority easement areas that do have a presence of invasives and start to tackle those, I think, first with volunteers, and then, see if there's a potential for bringing on an actual contractor to help really remove and manage invasives and potentially even replant with some native species to try to suppress invasives from coming back. So,
and that's great. And one of the keys for that for me is that there's grant money that seems to be trickling down from different sources. And I was wondering if the Conservancy had any plans on trying to apply for any of those grants, or if somebody else applied for the grants, whether they would get Conservancy support. Because there's only so much you can do with volunteers, and they've been doing a fantastic job. I have to say, totally impressed with what's been able to happen with just volunteers so far. But like you said, I think we all know that there's some plots that are really getting, they're so compromised and they're so big that we can't plan on saving the trees with just volunteer effort. So yeah, I'd love to know if the Conservancy has any plans to try to get money through grants or through our CIP budget for the city, or whether they would partner with other groups like Save Our Trees to go after some grants.
Yeah, but before we move on from that, I just want to let Linda have a chance.
Sorry.
She's got her hand up.
Just to set the context, I think all of these easements are on private land, and then we have maybe properties that are listed as city owned that we maybe keep an eye on. So the context is, if it's private property, then you have to look at really what the easement allows us to do. So there can be this very open dialogue with, hey, let's reach out to the owner of the land.
Sure.
If we see that there's endangered, the species there, and on a voluntary basis say, hey, would you like some help with removal? So it really, we have to kind of go through looking at what the underlying easement says and who owns
Yeah, no, great. Absolutely. Okay, well, it doesn't sound like there's any plans right now other than to work with volunteers, but maybe we can talk in the future about grants that are potential opportunities. And there's several environmental groups that would love to work with the city to just help you manage those conservation easements based on what Linda said, the agreement of private landowners and cooperation with the city. So
yeah, and Diane, I think that's definitely something that we would be interested to talk about further. I don't know how it works with the Conservancy Board being an eligible entity to receive grant funding. Maybe it would depend on the grant opportunity, but generally, I think that eligible entities under the grants that we're looking at or that we're probably talking about are for 501c3s, maybe HOAs or other groups. But maybe if the Conservancy Board is not eligible to receive grant funds and administer those, then we could help to facilitate a group who is.
Right.
And
Right.
we'd have to discuss if that's in our mission, and if that's in like the best interest of our mission and our duties as assigned by the city. But I think generally on the surface it probably is.
If anything, you could at least write a letter of support depending on the outcome of the collaboration. But
another
yep,
great
that's
suggestion. Yeah.
that's all I have, and I wanted to thank you.
Diane, this is Jackie.
Hey,
The
Jackie.
the nonprofit that could be a recipient of such grants is Courts of the Watershed Stewards Academy, who Save Our Trees is operating underneath. And also we have the program in Annapolis that we worked out with. The county has it and the city has it, a tree program, a tree planting program in
Tree
partnership
trooper.
with Sorry, what?
The Anne Arundel County Tree Troopers program.
Yeah, and so we have
Yep.
the city of Annapolis has tree troopers as well. We have the same
Yep.
parallel program that is a partnership with the Watershed Stewards Academy, and we allocate so much money out of Brian Adams' budget that goes there, and they work with Brian to plant trees. But part of that might be they may expand into tree removal of invasives as well. That could be an idea, because Watershed Stewards Academy could be a recipient of grant funds.
Good point. Yes.
So yeah, Diane, I would like to, I'm not sure if we need to make a motion for this, but I'll speak for myself because I don't think we've had a chance as a group to discuss with the rest of the Conservancy Board. But I think that this is a worthy thing to keep exploring, and it certainly is. It falls under our duties as assigned, which is to administer and manage said properties and encourage the preservation of environmentally sensitive land. So I think that managing invasives and making sure that these conservation easements are healthy, functioning conservation areas is well within our purview. So I appreciate you taking the time to come out and to voice that concern and to share those ideas with us. I think that's you're putting
Sure. And I will keep you up to date on anything I learn about grants that might be a good fit and bring them back to you and then see what you guys think about it. But in the meantime, I'm just excited that we're moving forward, and at least our comprehensive plan includes finally a map that that shows all of the current conservation easements and all of the environmentally sensitive areas that we want to protect. And to me, that's just a great step forward. And like I said, I appreciate all your work, and I'll be back to you probably in the next few months with some grant ideas.
Thanks,
Diane.
Diane.
I have
you.
one
Thank you.
comment.
Mhm.
And I hope I'm not out of line, but I know that Save Our Trees is focused on English ivy, which is very important. But there are other invasives that we
That's for
might
sure.
want to take a look at, as well as the English ivy, when we're moving forward.
Exactly. Well, point well taken. Thanks, Racine.
Okay, Diane, thanks so much. It sounds like this won't be the last time we talk.
No. All right. Thanks,
I look
everyone.
forward to
Bye.
it, and thank you for taking the time to come out and speak with us tonight.
Absolutely. Take care.
See you, Diane. All right. Well, I'd like to get back to talk about that a little bit more, but just as a point of order, Diane was bringing up the potential new easements, and I wanted to share my screen just really quickly and show you all under. So this is our meeting agenda for this evening, and under our Section 3, duties, discussion, and 2023 goals, we've got solicit dedication of properties real and personal to the city as one of our duties as assigned as the Conservancy Board. So under here, under the agenda, we had used the potential new easement areas as a guidance for strategies to identify new properties to solicit and working with the city's GIS. So between Linda and I, we now have this GIS map, which just lives online. So the Conservancy Board should be able to access it. And this actually right now we're looking at the potential new easements layer. So this was also included in the Annapolis 2040 comprehensive plan, the Annapolis Ahead, that Eric Lashinsky spoke with us about a while back. And I just thought that this is a great tool for the Conservancy Board to have to start looking at some of these potential new easements and getting some more information, and kind of using this as a really good tool to orient us and help us to start prioritizing and taking some actions for soliciting new properties. Linda, I don't know if you wanted to add anything. I know that you probably have some thoughts about new.
Yeah, thanks for making that available. And I spent a little time this afternoon getting familiar with the layers. I feel like when this was first pulled together, I don't know, a couple of years ago, there's probably been a couple iterations, but I don't know if there was really an underlying, there might have been, I have this feeling there's an underlying spreadsheet that was developed to sort of code certain things. But in any event, I was becoming more familiar with these layers. I'm used to working in like other GIS, interfaces, but so we have a couple different layers that are marked as potential conservation easement areas in this. But I was looking to see if the actual Maryland property data was in here, and that's a layer. It is. So I think that's going to be really helpful. And I think I had volunteered to pull together some interested board members to just sort of have a subgroup to brainstorm on looking at some of these parcels, like really using people's knowledge. Trudy's always talking about, hey, what about this property or that property? Just to sort of, there's a couple ways we can come at it, but just to kind of zero in and start looking at some of the particulars and the ownership and strategies to maybe do some outreach.
Thanks, Linda. And yeah, I really owe the city on this one. It was Sean Wampler who was really instrumental in getting us access to this and sharing these layers with us. And yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree more. Having parcel data on there, if there's other data that we think would be helpful for strategizing and helping to identify how to prioritize. We talked about like a pilot easement to pursue to start with, because it could be kind of overwhelming to try to take on, 30 or 50 or however many potential new easements are identified here. If there are other layers that we want, I'm sure we could, work with the city and Sean and their GIS department to try to get that information on here. So yeah, I just think that this is a neat tool. And I think between Linda, who has offered to kind of be the lead on this, and the rest of the folks who offered to participate, I hope that by the next time we meet or, into 2024, we'll really start to nail down some strategies and prioritize at least one of these potential new easement areas. So I just wanted
and I would say just board members or city staff, like if there's some really deeper knowledge about certain areas that are undeveloped that are popping out on this map that they have some background knowledge on, and think it would be a good connector, let's bring that forward into the mix, because we can develop a whole spreadsheet that shows every one of these parcels and factor in criteria and rank it. But the reality is another good way to start is just people's really knowledge of certain properties in certain areas that might be great candidates to start on.
Yeah, I agree. And I think people like Karen, who's not here tonight, but who's also on the board, Karen has been instrumental with her institutional knowledge of filling in blanks where we might, other members of the board might not have the kind of like local knowledge of, we talked about this parcel and, back in 2018 and the landowner was willing. And so I think that's a good point. If there is some local knowledge to help to prioritize what we pursue, I think that would really be a benefit too. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing this, but I will be happy to share that link. I know that Linda and I have both had a chance to look at it. We just recently got access to it. So More to come there, but I think that ticks the box for soliciting the dedication of properties. I don't have anything on the update with the MOU with the county. I don't know if there's been any movement there.
I checked with the Office of Law to find out where that stands. And according to Ashley Leonard, one of our city attorneys, that MOU was never signed and executed. So there is no MOU. Oh, yeah. For a public program open space.
Okay. I wonder, I don't want to go outside of our, duties, but I wonder if there's, someone I wonder who the person at the county is that was working on it, or if we could interface with whoever from the city was working on it. Because, I think that, just speaking to me personally, that having this MOU could be helpful with, getting more funds from program open space into the city.
I feel my memory might be faulty, and I don't, maybe Jackie or Racine you can recall, but I feel like in the past, Ashley had commented that like she would check in maybe with the county attorney, and the county attorney would say, well, I'm still waiting on my client, the parks agency or something, to weigh in on it.
I can check with Ashley at next time I see her. Candidly, I don't know much about this MOU, but Ashley sounds like she would. So as soon as I see her next, I'd be happy to see if she's got any updates.
So this is setting up a protocol to, I think, have program open state funding that flows to local governments, be able to have the city tap it in a much more user-friendly way, I guess. I don't know, Jackie probably has some history on this.
Yeah.
Or Racine.
Yeah, I mean, I went right to the source. I mean, the Office of Law. So that's what I was told. But if I can move this forward, I would love to do that.
Well, it's a thing where if the city wants to continue to do stuff that is open space and trail connection related, this is the sort of a de facto funding source the city can tap. And I think the MOU has been put forward over the last couple of years to really better coordinate that. And maybe change the understanding of the way that would work in the future.
Jack, Linda, are we talking about, is the pot of money that had allegedly been, put into safekeeping because the amount that was allocated to the city wasn't sufficient enough in order to close a deal per chance, and then kicked over to the following year and the following year, whatever it is?
I think that's the way it was described, that as between the city and the county, that the city wouldn't necessarily tap it each year.
Right.
Funds that flow from the state,
right?
Because properties are so expensive, but that when the time came, the city had a candidate, and they needed a big portion of that program open space fund set aside, then the county would agree to give them a share.
Correct, and I think that has, I mean, at least this should be. I mean, I remember it going many years, less than 5 definitely that I can recall, but at least a sufficient amount of funds have been put into the bank again, so to speak, in order to be able to allow other people, in order to maintain the cognizance of it while we were waiting. Pardon my phone always ringing when it doesn't do. Anyway, so as it turned out, not having any record of it, if that's the thing, that there is no record of it, raises the need potentially, and now I'm really speaking out of turn here, but for an audit, because that's a hole in the system that should never exist. So, if that helps, Trip, as far as, trying to do some arm twisting and getting people to kind of remember things a little bit, we're not talking a great deal of time and effort, but we are talking, I think into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And for a city our size, it's a concern.
Yeah, I will certainly follow up with Ashley to try to understand the status of this thing and see clearly something's holding it up. I'd like to understand what that is myself.
Right. I appreciate that. Thanks. Feel
Thanks,
free to
Jeff.
give me a buzz. Also, I will be happy to assist as far as I can remember on what we've done. And there should be hopefully some records in the history of the Conservancy Board, at least where it was discussed. So it goes back, I think, at least a couple of years.
Okay. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, and I think just
Yes,
to close that loop, I think that Karen, who's not here this evening, but generally participates in our meetings, she has an incredible amount of institutional knowledge going back probably until when the MOU was first brought up. So she
Agreed.
could also be helpful, Karen Jennings. So, okay, I'd like to move on unless there's any more on the MOU, but it sounds like the action there is our City of Law liaison trip will speak with Ashley and try to figure out if there's anything that the city can do to keep that advancing. Under our next duty as assigned, administer and manage said properties. The first item I had here was an update on the Thomas Woods easement, which, if everyone remembers from last meeting, was the new easement that came from the Office of Law. Patrick Browning, who I thought was going to be here this evening, but is not. He and I visited a few weeks ago to the Thomas Woods easement to check it out and quickly realized that it doesn't really exist yet. I guess you could say it's a subdivision in development or a parcel in development, but there's nothing there yet. They've kept it kind of the area kind of mowed and there's some large trees on the outskirts, but without the actual construction, I think they're building some homes there or condos or something. Without that completed, there's not really anything to inspect. So we will just defer and keep an eye on that easement until it's ready. Do we have any questions on that one? It's right off of Forest Drive, kind of close. It's across the street from Hillsmere and, a little bit out of away from the city on Forest Drive. That was interesting.
On the Ace Hardware side?
Yes, on the Ace Hardware side, it's like 100 yards away from Bay Ridge on the Ace Hardware side. And it's just like a little clearing off of Forest Drive. We parked at another set of apartment buildings that are close by and just 2-minute walk down Forest Drive there. And it looks like they were installing some water mains and sanitary sewers, or at least had the materials there, but there's nothing there. There's just some equipment on the property. So there was no way for us to check it out. And I don't think that would have been safe for us to go onto the property anyway, or we would have.
Did you get any paperwork? I mean, what do you think is being set aside? Is there just forest stands that are, being set aside and that's
so Patrick, who's really the professional at the legal, like real estate kind of side of things, the deed side of things, he said that there, I saw there's 3 different areas that are called conservation areas on the property, but without seeing some other kind of meets and bounds, like without understanding how the property actually is, we didn't know if some of these large trees on the outside were in the easement or if they're outside of the property. So I think we just need to see how it develops. I think was kind of our final word there for now. There's just nothing to inspect.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that one is still in the works, I guess. And I don't know if there's, I haven't looked on, the city has their eTrackIt platform where you can look up like a grading permit and we could see, maybe some more detail of the easement areas, but I have not done that yet. So under easement inspections, the next item, status needs survey and invasive species. I should have probably brought this up with Diane. I think I kind of touched on it, but I talked with Save Our Trees with Marianne and Terry, I think last week, and they had a chance to visit the Chesapeake Children's Museum. They said it is very bad. It needs plenty of help. So they proposed to organize a volunteer invasive removal event there. We don't have a date yet, but I told them that I would add it to our agenda tonight and that I would determine what they need to get access to the easement to do the volunteer removal. And Racine, thank you. And Trip.
I checked in with Trip about this.
Yep.
And you had already figured out that the Chesapeake Children's Museum is city property. I think we're leasing it out. But with Save Our Trees, they have all the forms that need to be filled out for volunteer workers. So as a group, I think, and Trip, please correct me, that if you fill out the volunteer form, you're okay. Now, if you're doing it as the conservation board, there can be no decisions made. It's just all volunteer. There, you know, you can discuss and whatnot, but no votes or motions or anything like that take place.
That's accurate.
Thanks, Racine and Trip, both for figuring that out. So it sounds like we have what we need from, you know, from the access perspective for Save Our Trees. So I would be happy to open the floor to discussion about this. I think that it's a good idea. I think we agreed that it was a good idea in previous meetings. And hopefully, once we get a date on the calendar for Save Our Trees to get out there, I hope that we can, you know, most of us or all of us participate, removing some invasives. Do we need to make any sort of, Racine, do you think we need to make any sort of motion there? Or I think we already kind of decided that we were in support of Save Our Trees at the Children's Museum for a volunteer event.
Yeah, organization, and you've talked about this a little bit, that you are in complete support of Save Our Trees. And Jack, I know that you've done some volunteer opportunities, and the members of the Conservancy Board can also participate in you know, the volunteer opportunities. But beyond that, I don't think there's anything more.
Okay. Great. Well, stay tuned then, everyone, because I will follow up. I'll take the action to follow up with Terry and Mary Ann at Save Our Trees, and we'll get a date on the calendar, and we will roll our sleeves up and chop some vines. All right. The last item under administer and manage properties is data gaps update. So when I met with Patrick at the Thomas Woods easement recently, he told me that he was just about finished with his data gap analysis, which is where he was looking at all of the easements in the city and trying to find the deeds, maps, the, you know, all the kind of background documents, and then identify what information we didn't have so we could start trying to fill those gaps in. So Patrick was going to give us a summary of that work, and that will have to happen at our next meeting. I think when Patrick does, maybe he can send it out before the next meeting so we can all have a chance to look at it, so we can have a good discussion next time. Moving down the agenda, encouraging preservation of environmentally sensitive land. I don't think there's much here. You know, outreach opportunities, I think working with the Save Our Trees. It sounds like we'll have some more conversation with Diane as far as maybe helping to facilitate some grant funding. Happy to open the floor to any other ideas for outreach, but I think those are kind of our two big ones for now. And then under the 2040 comp plan, the potential new easement areas, I think that just ties right into the map, the GIS map that I just had pulled up. I don't have anything else to add there right now. Under further implementing goals for improving water quality, I think that this is somewhere that we're still trying to figure out exactly how we support the city and meet these duties for improving water quality. So under here, I had it identifying goals, identifying easements to support those goals, and assigning a board lead. I don't think we were able to do that at our last meeting as far as assigning a board lead. We did talk about the College Creek headwaters, where there's just a massive stormwater pipe where the stream is basically piped underneath Homewood, the community of Homewood. It dumps out there near Woodlawn, I think. And it was Karen who brought up that that had been looked at before, and that that was you know, a potential water quality improvement area for the city. But since Karen's not here, I don't know that there's much more to discuss with that. So maybe if Karen participates in our next meeting, we can talk a little bit more about that. And then as far as providing for development of recreation resources, the only item that I had on the agenda was for public water access. And I think there was some discussion of, I was down at Amos Garrett Park, which is down at the end of Amos Garrett Boulevard, Street, Road in Murray Hill. And a resident was complaining to me, they didn't know that I was with the Conservancy Board, but was complaining about the erosion that's happening at Amos Garrett Park. So didn't really know how to assess the erosion there, just looking at it, but that's a good public water access point. And I know that as part of the 2040 plan, there's been a lot of discussion around public water access and identifying additional opportunities for public water access. And I did just see that the city is doing some work at the Tucker Street boat ramp, or has applied for doing some work down there. And I think that sounds like, I don't know if there's any way for us to participate, but I looked at the public notice for it, and it looks like they're going to upgrade those facilities. Racine or Jackie, I don't know if you had any more info on the Tucker Street boat ramp, but it sounds like they're replacing the ramp and adding a dock and just basically making some more public water access opportunities there.
Yeah, it's an upgrade. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's an upgrade project. I'm sorry. There's several of them on my mind right now. And I don't exactly remember everything about it, but that's what it is. It's just upgrading the additional facilities. And then as far as Amos Garrett with erosion, Racine, perhaps it's something that we bring to the attention of Betsy McEwen, who Betsy is our stormwater
I was going to make that suggestion.
Stormwater project manager, who oversees the work of our stormwater engineers and is in charge of our stormwater restoration project. So we can bring that to her attention, see if that is already on the CIP list or on Betsy's agenda at all. And if not, she can have her team do an assessment there and see what can be done.
CIP list to see what's going on there with Amos Garrett Park. And if it's not on there, I will reach out to you.
Thanks, Racine and Jackie, both really helpful there. Yeah, I mean, I have some qualifications to look at erosion and kind of assess if something is extreme or, whatever. And I didn't really see anything that jumped out to me that said that the shoreline was eroding away, but that was just me looking at it at one point in time. So, and this was an older gentleman who was talking to me, and, maybe over the last, long period of time, it's changed, but yeah, that would be great. Thank you. And then as far as Tucker Street, it sounds like it's not new access, but it's helping to increase the ways that people can access with the dock and with the new boat ramp. So I think that's, as far as recreation resources and public water access, I commend the city for taking that initiative. All right. So those are our duties discussion. Under updates and new business, we just have every other meeting that we're going to have in person at Pitt Moyer. So I think we can expect that for our January meeting will be in person.
Yeah. Is it going to be every other meeting?
That's what we had talked about, Racine, at
Okay.
the last meeting. And I'm personally fine meeting virtually, but also I do see the value in meeting in person. So I think that was a happy medium.
Okay, I mean, every other meeting and bring that in my notes. I've already reached out to Rec and Parks for a meeting room in January. No meeting in December, correct?
No meeting in this. We meet every other month.
Every other month. So I've already reached out to Park and Recs for a meeting room in January, and I will follow up with you on the details.
Thanks so much, Racine. Yeah, hopefully we can meet in person. I think there were some folks who really wanted to do that. So we will see everybody again in January in the new year. I don't have any other items, but I'm happy to open the floor for any discussion or new items or thoughts from the rest of the board. All right. Hearing none, I'm going to move to adjourn this meeting at 6:17 p.m. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Linda has seconded. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.